Perched above the waters where Europe meets Asia, Topkapi Palace rises as a crown over Istanbul. Once the heart of the Ottoman Empire, this palace of power, faith, and artistry now opens its doors to the world, inviting us to step into centuries of history, grandeur, and timeless beauty. Morning awakens over the timeless city of Istanbul. The first light of dawn stretches softly across the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold, rose, and pale blue. The gentle waves of the Bosphorus shimmer beneath the rising sun, as the water catches fire with morning light. Seagulls glide above the strait, their calls echoing through the still air. In the distance, the hauntingly beautiful sound of the Eid, the Islamic call to prayer, drifts across the rooftops, a melody that has greeted this city every morning for centuries. The domes and minarets of the old city begin to glow, the great silhouette of Hagia Sophia, the elegant lines of the Blue Mosque, and the slender towers that pierce the sky. The air carries the scent of the sea, the faint aroma of brewing Turkish coffee, and the hum of a city slowly stirring to life. And high, above the old peninsula, where the waters of the Golden Horn meet the Marmara Sea, a palace rises from history itself, Topkapi Palace. Its courtyards still rest in silence, its domes glint softly in the sun. Once the command center of a vast empire, a world that ruled across 3 continents, Topkapi stands like a crown upon Istanbul, a living monument to power, faith, and timeless beauty. Here, where Europe meets Asia, and past meets present, the story of the Ottoman world begins with the dawn, and with the palace that watched over it all. The year was 1453. A moment that changed the course of history forever. The young and determined Sultan Mehmed II, only 21 years old, had achieved the impossible. He conquered Constantinople, the city that had stood as the jewel of the Byzantine Empire for more than 1,000 years. The ancient walls had fallen, and a new era had begun. The world now looked toward this bold young ruler, the man they would call Mehmed the Conqueror. But victory alone was not enough. Mehmed dreamed of something greater, a new capital that would rival all others, a palace that would reflect the might, the vision, and the soul of the Ottoman Empire. And so, on a high promontory overlooking the Bosphorus, the Golden Horn, and the Sea of Marmara, construction began on a magnificent residence, a palace unlike any other. The site was chosen not by chance, but by destiny. It was the very point where the 2 continents of Europe and Asia met, where trade, culture, and faith intertwined. The palace would be called Topkapi Sarai, the Cannon Gate Palace. Its foundations were laid with care, its walls built from the stones of empires past. Over time, grand courtyards, marble fountains, and gilded halls began to rise from the earth. Architects, artisans, and calligraphers from every corner of the empire came to contribute their skill. From Persia came masters of tilework, painting walls with patterns of infinite beauty. From Anatolia came stone carvers who shaped columns and arches that whispered elegance. From Arab lands came scholars and poets, bringing words that would adorn the palace in sacred verses. The sound of chisels and hammers filled the air, mingling with the rhythm of the sea below. Every stone placed carried the weight of vision, every archway, every dome, a reflection of divine harmony. By the time the palace neared completion, it was not simply a royal residence. It was a statement to the world that a new empire had risen, and that its heart now beat here, on the edge of 2 worlds. Within its growing walls, Mehmed envisioned more than luxury. He dreamed of a place where knowledge would flourish, where religion, governance, and art would coexist in perfect balance. Topkapi would be a palace of wisdom and power, a living symbol of the empire's destiny. As the sun set over the Bosphorus and the call to evening prayer filled the sky, the newly built domes shimmered in the fading light. From his terrace, the Sultan looked out across his new capital, a city reborn, crowned by the palace of his dreams. And so began the story of Topkapi Palace, a story not just of kings and conquests, but of vision, legacy, and the enduring pursuit of beauty. For nearly 4 centuries, Topkapi Palace stood not merely as a royal residence, but as the nerve center of an empire that stretched across 3 continents. From the deserts of Arabia to the mountains of the Balkans, from the coasts of North Africa to the gates of Vienna, the will of the Ottoman Sultan flowed outward from these very walls within Topkapi. Every courtyard, corridor, and chamber had its purpose. This was not a palace of idle grandeur, it was a living organism, designed to embody the order, discipline, and sacred hierarchy of the Ottoman world. Each morning, as the first light of dawn touched the domes, the palace awakened to a carefully orchestrated rhythm. The gates opened to the footsteps of statesmen, soldiers, and scholars. Courtiers in silk robes moved silently through marble halls, while scribes prepared the documents that carried imperial decrees to the farthest reaches of the realm. At the heart of it all stood the Divan Chamber, the council hall, where the Sultan's advisors, the Grand Vizier, and his ministers, gathered to govern the empire. Their meetings were solemn, deliberate, and steeped in ritual. Behind a golden lattice, hidden from view, the Sultan himself often listened, silently, unseen, judging the wisdom of his council. Here, decisions that shaped the destiny of nations were made. Wars were declared, alliances forged, ambassadors received. The pulse of empire beat strong within these walls. Outside the council chambers, the palace was alive with ceremony. Janissaries, the elite soldiers of the Sultan, stood guard in perfect formation. Messengers on horseback raced through the courtyards, carrying royal orders. Musicians played melodies that echoed through the gardens, while the scent of jasmine and rose drifted in the warm air. But power in Topkapi was not only political, it was spiritual, cultural, and symbolic. The Sultan was not merely a ruler, he was the Caliph of Islam, the shadow of God on earth, protector of the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Within these walls, divine authority met worldly power. Every gesture, every ceremony was a reflection of order and devotion. The palace was designed not to overwhelm, but to inspire, to remind all who entered that they stood in the presence of something greater than man, the living embodiment of empire itself. And yet, beyond the public halls and council chambers, there existed a deeper, more private world, one hidden behind tall gates and golden screens, where whispers carried more weight than commands. That secret realm was known as the Harem. It was there, behind veiled doors and tiled corridors, that the story of power took a more personal turn, a world of beauty, intellect, and intrigue that shaped the destiny of the Ottoman throne. Behind the golden gates of Topkapi Palace lay a realm few ever saw, a world both whispered about and misunderstood, a place of beauty, intellect, and influence known as the Harem. To the outside world, the harem was shrouded in mystery, but within the palace walls, it was a sanctuary of family, education, and power, the private heart of the Sultan's household. Here lived the women of the imperial family, the Sultan's mother, known as the Valid Sultan, his wives and consorts, his daughters, sisters, and children, as well as the attendants, teachers, and guardians who served them. Far from the fantasies of legend, the harem was governed by strict order and discipline. Its life was regulated by law, etiquette, and faith. Every chamber, every courtyard had its purpose. From the grand apartments of the Valid Sultan to the marble baths that shimmered with steam and light, the Valid Sultan was the most powerful woman in the empire, advisor to her son, patron of architecture, art, and charity. Her influence reached beyond the walls of Top, guiding decisions that shaped the empire itself. Within these secluded corridors, young women received education not only in etiquette and religion, but in poetry, calligraphy, music, and languages. Many had been brought to the palace from distant lands, chosen for their grace, intelligence, or talent. Here, they became part of a refined and disciplined society, learning the traditions of the Ottoman court. At night, the harem came alive with quiet elegance. The flicker of oil lamps cast golden light upon walls adorned with Iznik tiles, each tile painted by hand in vivid blues and turquoise. The fragrance of rosewater and sandalwood drifted through the air. Soft music echoed from hidden chambers. Melodies played on the oud and ney, songs that spoke of longing, devotion, and destiny. In the midst of this world walked the Sultan himself, not as a ruler commanding his court, but as a father, a husband, a man among his family. Here, he found respite from the demands of empire. And yet, even here, politics and emotion intertwined. The harem was not merely a place of seclusion, it was a center of influence, where the fates of men and nations could shift with a whisper. Alliances were forged, heirs were raised, and the future of the dynasty was quietly written behind these walls. Guarding this hidden world were the men entrusted with the palace's most delicate duties. At their head stood the chief black eunuch, one of the most powerful figures in the Ottoman court, a man whose loyalty to the Sultan was absolute, and whose word carried the weight of command. The harem was, in every sense, a kingdom within a kingdom, a world where beauty met intellect, where silence held secrets, and where every glance and gesture could alter the course of history. And though centuries have passed, the air of mystery still lingers in these chambers. The laughter of children, the whispers of intrigue, the quiet footsteps of those who once ruled from behind the veil. This was the hidden heart of Topkapi, where empire met emotion, and where power wore the face of elegance. Step beyond the gates of Topkapi Palace, and a series of 4 majestic courtyards unfolds, each a world of its own, a chapter in the story of empire. The first courtyard, known as the Alay Maidani, served as the ceremonial entrance to the palace. Here, guards in brilliant uniforms stood at attention, and visitors arrived from distant lands to present gifts and tribute. The air carried the scent of the sea from the Bosphorus below, mingled with the earthy fragrance of marble and cypress. It was a place of grandeur and first impressions, designed to inspire awe before one stepped further into the heart of power. The second courtyard introduced the palace's inner workings, lined with administrative buildings, kitchens, bakeries, and armories. It was the hub of daily palace life. The Sultan's council and officials moved through these spaces with purpose, and the sounds of labor, the clatter of cookware, the shuffle of scrolls, the murmur of planning filled the air. Fountains sparkled under the sun, their waters flowing like veins through the marble courtyards, reminding all who passed that beauty and order were inseparable from power. The third courtyard was the heart of intimacy and prestige. It housed the private chambers of the Sultan, the treasury, and the audience halls. Here, visitors could see the palace's artistic soul, gilded ceilings, intricate tilework, and carved calligraphy that spoke of devotion and wisdom. Marble columns reflected sunlight, and gardens of roses, jasmine, and cypress filled the air with fragrance. The courtyards themselves became a stage for the delicate dance of ceremony and protocol, where each step, gesture, and greeting carried meaning. Finally, the fourth courtyard was reserved for the Sultan's most private retreats, pavilions, and gardens designed for reflection, leisure, and quiet contemplation. From terraces overlooking the Bosphorus, the Sultan watched ships pass between continents, and the city stretched endlessly beneath him, a reminder of the empire he ruled. It was a space where architecture, nature, and power converged, where the Sultan's presence was both serene and commanding. Walking through the courtyards of Topkapi is like moving through layers of history. Each step tells a story, of ceremony and secrecy, of grand processions and private moments, of the balance between authority and artistry, of an empire at the height of its glory. Even today, as visitors wander these marble corridors, fountains glisten under the sun, gardens bloom with the same timeless elegance, and the spirit of the Ottoman court seems to linger in the soft rustle of leaves and the distant echo of footsteps. The courtyards of Topkapi Palace are not just spaces, they are living stages. They tell the story of a civilization, of power, grace, and enduring beauty, where every stone, every fountain, every tree is a witness to history itself. Here, the legacy of an empire is preserved not only in stone and architecture but in gold, jewels, and masterful craftsmanship. Every object tells a story, of conquest and diplomacy, of devotion and display, of skill that spans generations. The room glimmers under soft light, revealing thrones encrusted with emeralds and rubies, ceremonial armor of polished steel and gold, and gilded vessels that once carried the finest delicacies to the Sultan's table. Each piece is more than wealth, it is a work of art, a testament to the empire's reach and refinement. Among the treasures lies the legendary Topkapi dagger, a masterpiece of design and intrigue. Its hilt is studded with emeralds and gold, its blade forged with unparalleled precision. Legend whispers that it was more than a weapon, it was a symbol of authority, a gift of diplomacy, and a treasure meant to awe both friend and foe alike. The treasury also holds hundreds of priceless objects from across the Ottoman world. Emeralds the size of eggs, diamond-studded swords, golden ceremonial robes embroidered with intricate patterns. Each item speaks of artisans who devoted months, sometimes years, to perfect their craft. But wealth alone does not define the treasury. Here are also sacred relics, kept with reverence and care. Among them are objects of deep spiritual significance, from relics of the Prophet Muhammad, including his cloak and sword, to Quranic manuscripts illuminated with gold and exquisite calligraphy. These are treasures not just of the eye, but of the soul. Walking through the treasury, one feels the presence of generations. Every artifact is a silent witness to the ambitions of sultans, the skill of artisans, and the devotion of those who safeguarded these treasures through centuries of upheaval. The Imperial Treasury of Topkapi Palace is a bridge between past and present, a place where beauty, faith, and power converge. It reminds us that an empire is measured not only by the lands it rules, but by the art, devotion, and vision it leaves behind. Even today, as visitors gaze upon the glittering gems and golden thrones, they are transported into the world of Ottoman splendor, a world where every object has a story, and every story reflects the grandeur of an empire that once ruled from the heart of Istanbul. Here, wealth is measured not in gold or gemstones, but in faith, devotion, and history. Within these walls are some of the most sacred artifacts of Islam, treasures that have been guarded for centuries and revered by generations. Among them rests the cloak of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, delicate and simple, yet carrying the weight of spiritual authority. Nearby lies his sword, a symbol not of conquest alone, but of justice, courage, and guidance. Every item tells a story of faith, resilience, and the devotion of those who preserved it through centuries of change. The chamber itself is quiet, almost hushed, as if the walls themselves honor the sanctity of the relics. Soft light filters through latticed windows, illuminating intricate calligraphy and polished surfaces. The air feels still, heavy with history, devotion, and the whispers of countless pilgrims who came to see these treasures. These relics were more than ceremonial objects. They were symbols of the Sultan's role as Caliph, protector of Islam, and guardian of the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. They connected the sultans to a lineage of faith that stretched back to the earliest days of Islam, binding spiritual authority to the governance of an empire. Visitors today are struck not by the opulence but by the power of presence, the quiet reminder that some treasures transcend wealth and fame. Here, the divine meets the earthly, and history is preserved not only in objects but in belief and reverence. As one moves through the chamber, it becomes clear that the spirit of Topkapi is as much about faith as it is about power. The palace was not merely a home for rulers, it was a guardian of legacy, both worldly and spiritual. both magnificent and sacred. In this chamber, time seems to fold upon itself. Generations of sultans, scholars, and worshippers stand alongside us, their devotion echoing silently across centuries. The relics of faith remind us that Topkapi Palace was more than a seat of empire, it was a temple of history, a sanctuary where the sacred and the imperial meet. From this vantage point, the Golden Horn shimmers beneath the sun, while the waters of the Bosphorus sparkle as ships glide between two continents. The air carries the scent of the sea, mingled with the subtle fragrance of palace gardens, roses, jasmine, and cypress whispering in the gentle breeze. The domes and minarets of the old city rise proudly against the sky. Hagia Sophia stands as a testament to Byzantine ingenuity, its massive dome touching the heavens, while the blue mosque glows softly in the morning light, its slender minarets piercing the skyline like delicate fingers reaching upward. Beyond the historical peninsula, rooftops stretch endlessly, a patchwork of tile and stone, alive with the sounds of a city that has thrived for thousands of years. The cries of street vendors, the distant hum of boats, the echo of prayers all blend into a symphony that is uniquely Istanbul. From these terraces, the sultans once gazed upon their empire, seeing the waterways that connected continents, the neighborhoods that thrived under their rule, and the horizon where dreams of conquest and diplomacy intertwined. The view was not merely beautiful, it was a reminder of responsibility, of vision, of power tempered by the vastness of the world. Even today, standing on the same terraces, one can feel the echo of history. The footsteps of those who ruled, dreamed, and loved here linger in the air. The city pulses below, yet from this height, time feels suspended, and the grandeur of Topkapi Palace merges seamlessly with the eternal city it watches over. Here, where continents meet and civilizations converge, Topkapi offers more than a view, it offers a connection across centuries. It is a window into the past, a mirror of human ambition, and a vantage point from which the soul of Istanbul can be truly felt. The palace terraces are a reminder that some perspectives are timeless. From here, one can see not only the beauty of the city, but the legacy of an empire, its history etched into every street, every dome, and every shimmering wave of the Bosphorus. Today, the palace welcomes millions of visitors from every corner of the world. Tourists wander through its courtyards, halls, and gardens. Yet the air still carries the whispers of history, the echoes of footsteps from soldiers, scholars, and members of the royal family. The palace is no longer the seat of power, but it remains a guardian of memory. Its walls preserve the stories of triumph and tragedy, of faith and governance, of love and ambition. Every fountain, every ornate tile, every gilded door tells a story that has survived the passage of time. Topkapi is also a treasure trove of culture and art. Its Imperial Treasury dazzles the eye. Its holy relics inspire devotion, and its courtyards and terraces offer a window into the daily lives of those who shaped history. Walking through the palace today, one can feel the connection between past and present. The empire may have faded, but its spirit lives on in the meticulous artistry of its tiles, the delicate scripts of its calligraphy, and the enduring beauty of a city that grew alongside it. Topkapi Palace is more than a museum. It is a bridge across time, linking the grandeur of the Ottoman world to the hearts and minds of those who visit today. It teaches us about power tempered by wisdom, wealth balanced by faith, and the eternal human desire to create beauty that outlives us all. As the sun sets over Istanbul, the palace glows once more, its domes reflecting the warm colors of dusk, its terraces still gazing over the city that inspired an empire. Topkapi reminds us that while empires rise and fall, their legacies endure in stone, art, and memory. And in the stories we continue to tell, it is a palace of history, beauty, and eternal wonder, a place where the past meets the present, and where the spirit of the Ottoman Empire still whispers through the halls. As the day draws to a close over Istanbul, the golden light of sunset bathes Topkapi Palace in a warm, ethereal glow. Its domes glimmer like jewels, its courtyards glow softly, and the gentle ripple of the Bosphorus whispers a timeless melody. Topkapi stands not only as a monument to power, but as a living story, a tale of emperors and sultans, of artistry and devotion, of courage, ambition, and vision. Walking through its halls, one can feel the echo of centuries, the footsteps of rulers, the whispers of courtiers, the laughter and whispers of the harem all remain suspended in the air, woven into the very fabric of the palace. Topkapi is more than history frozen in stone. It is a bridge across time, connecting the glories of the Ottoman Empire to the eyes and hearts of those who come to witness it today. It is a place where faith meets art, power meets poetry, and legacy meets eternity. From the glittering treasures of the Imperial Treasury to the sacred serenity of the Chamber of Holy Relics, from the private whispers of the harem to the panoramic view of the city that stretches across two continents, Topkapi Palace embodies the spirit of Istanbul itself, a city of contrasts, of beauty, of history, and of enduring wonder. And as the sun dips below the horizon, casting its final golden rays over the Bosphorus, one realizes that the palace is not just a museum, but a living memory, a guardian of stories that will endure for centuries more.